Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mr. Miller's Art Room. Today, we're going to be talking about overlapping shapes. Now, I have videos about overlapping shapes, but we're going to do this in a special kind of way. It is very difficult to learn to draw overlapping shapes because we have to get a couple of things in mind. When we draw and we utilize the concept of overlapping shape, it's because we are able to see shapes and consider them in real space, but they're not really in real space because look, this stuff is on a piece of paper. It's super thin. It helps to understand that when we see shapes that are overlapping, our brain connects the dots, but there really aren't any real shapes here or space here. Once again, it's just a very flat piece of paper. Very often, when we first start trying to make overlapping shapes, we either draw directly through the shapes, or we create tangents or areas where the shapes touch and create focus areas that we really didn't want.
All fancy words there, Mr. Miller, but what's this got to do with the cost of hamburgers in Idaho?
Good question, Mr. Monocle. What we're going to do today is, instead of learning to draw overlapping shapes, we're going to use something very real and physical. We're going to create shapes using these pieces of paper. Then we're going to cut them out and collect at least 10 shapes. We're going to use those shapes to overlap into a beautiful design. What we'll need are at least 10 pieces of paper cut to about 6 inches by 4.5 inches or so, crayons or oil pastels, depending on how messy you want to get, age-appropriate scissors, a glue stick, and a colored piece of paper, either neutral or black. I like black for the contrast, in order to glue your shapes down.
So, what's the first step here, Mr. Miller?
The first step is to start drawing some shapes. I'm going to keep it very basic, and I'm also going to have a list of shapes that are available to myself or to anybody else that needs them. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by choosing a color. I'm going to be using crayons right now. And let's just start with a fairly simple shape to draw. I'm going to draw a triangle. Now, when I draw this triangle, I don't want to draw a super tiny triangle. I want to make it fairly large. Knowing I'm going to cut this out, I don't want to waste a lot of space. And once I draw this triangle, I'm going to want to put a color, line, or design. We were working with patterns not too long ago, and if you didn't get to work with patterns, you can find my patterns video in my list of videos as well. So what I'm going to do is start with a very basic pattern of just bars, just to warm me up. So I'm going to do pink, then orange, then pink, then orange.
That looks pretty good, Mr. Miller, but I have such a problem choosing all of these different colors. How do you make a choice?
Another very good question, Mr. Monocle. What I like to do is first I think of the shape that I would like. For instance, I chose a triangle. Then I chose a color. It didn't matter so much what the color was, but I want it dark enough so it's easy to see for when I cut. Then I arbitrarily choose a different color, and then I use that. What I would do if I were you, I wouldn't choose any more than 4 to 5 colors, but no less than 2 colors, because we want to create some kind of visual interest and contrast. Once I have one shape drawn, I'm going to just set that aside in a place that's safe, because then I'm going to get my other piece of paper and I'm going to choose a new color, new shape. And let's see, let's do an oval. So I'm going to make an oval the best I can. I chose blue. It could have been any color. And now I'm going to try my hand at a different design. I've already used these colors, so maybe I'll set those aside because I'm going to come back to those colors in a little bit. But this time, I'm going to choose magenta, red, and let's see, yellow, green.
I wonder what kind of pattern Mr. Miller will try next.
I try not to think about it too much. I just let myself explore. Sometimes when you explore, you discover things you didn't even know you knew. I'm going to try, you know what, let's try this bending line. I like this bending line. But then I'm going to put this down. I'm going to choose a different color. Bend that line. I'll color this in. This kind of looks like an Easter egg. A little bit. Then I'll try this one. Now that I've completely colored it and I see what it looks like, I'm noticing that the bend of this curve right here is kind of giving my oval a very round look, as if it were like a real egg. And that's something I didn't realize was going to happen after I started following this pattern. You might discover some interesting things yourself.